Firdaus can be translated as paradise, as their abode or place of stay. Allah Azza wa Jalla is confirming indeed, and Allah doesn't need to confirm, but He is using it as one of the ways to say that this is a confirming promise. Indeed, those who believe and do good deeds, many times in the Quran, most of the times, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا always comes with عَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, those who believe and do good deeds. وَمَا هُوَ الْإِيمَانِ? Al-Iman, very simply, consists of three parts. One part has to do with the heart, the second part has to do with the tongue, the third part has to do with the limbs. The part that has to do with the heart is at-tasdeeq, is to have faith, belief in your heart. At-tasdeeq. The second part is al-iqrar bil-lisan, is to say it with your tongue. That's why the first, if somebody is not Muslim, he is coming to accept Islam, it's not only sufficient for them to believe in Allah in their heart. They have to believe it and they have to say it as well. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. The third part is to ratify both of these by actions. Is to ratify this by actions. So actions are the demonstration of this iman, of this faith. And action, عمل الصالحات, it has two conditions for any amal to be salih, to be Islamically considered righteous, as we all know. Two famous conditions. Condition number one is an ikhlas, it should be sincere and purely for Allah. And number two, it should be done according to the way that Allah wants it. What is the way that Allah wants? This is the exact action to be right. He sent all the prophets and messengers to show us. He sent us Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. إذن الإخلاص والمتابعة. It should be done sincerely for Allah, and it should be done according to the way Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as the one being sent by Allah, showed us how to do. Those who do that, they are promised Jannatul Firdaus. What is Al-Firdaus? We all know that it's the best part of Al-Jannah. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when you come to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Al-Jannah, then ask Him Al-Firdaus. In one hadith, فَقَالَ هُوَ أَوْسَطُهَا وَأَحْسَنُهَا. It is right in the middle of it, on top of it, right in the middle, and this is the best part of it. In another hadith, قَالَ سَنْفُهَا عَرْشُ الرَّحْمَنِ. The ceiling of that Al-Firdaus is the throne of Allah. So the people of Al-Firdaus, may Allah Azza wa Jalla make us all amongst them, Ameen, are the closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are in a position, place closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with no direction. كانت لهم جنات الفردوس. This is going to be their place, جنات الفردوس, those who believe and do good deeds. خالدين فيها, residing there forever. لا يبغون عنها حولا. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said خالدين فيها, and He repeats it in the Quran many times, they will be there forever. You know, when you think about it for a second, it could carry some negative meaning in our perception. خالدين فيها, what do you mean? The present, is it a present kind of present? Even if you live in your home, luxurious home, nice home, but it's part of the nature of the human being to change. I need to travel, I need to take, it's vacation time. Your house is the best and you like it, but you need to change. Let's travel. Let's travel somewhere, let's discover the world. In Jannah, لا يبغون عنها حولا. They would not like to go anywhere else. Every second, every minute, every moment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is offering them something, a new pleasure, new sa'ad, a new blessing. So they لا يبغون عنها حولا. They are happy. Some people think that they're going to get bored. Okay, we know that there are trees in Jannah, this and that, but what? Going to be living forever? No. خالدين فيها, that's number one thing. Number two, لا يبغون, you will never think of anything else. You will never think that you're going to go anywhere else, that you like to go anywhere else. And also خالدين فيها carries the meaning that, subhanallah, any ladha or any pleasure of this life comes to an end. And that makes it not complete. Life itself comes to an end. And every time you think about death, normally, there's nothing wrong with that. Normally when you think about death, it's the end of life. You really feel kind of, nobody loves death. That's nature. But when you know that you are in Jannah, no death, you are no way that you'll be taken out. If you're renting, for example, you know that it's going to be 1 year, 2 years. It really distracts the person to think that you have to leave sometime. But if you know in Jannah that it's going to be your house, there's no way that the bank can take it from you. There's no way that a hurricane or nothing can. You are there خالدين فيها أبدا, and you don't want to go nowhere. لا يكون عنها حول. As Allah begins the surah by praising Himself, Alhamdulillah الذي أنزل على عبده الكتاب, He's kind of concluding the surah by some kind of showing, His powers in such a way that He deserved praise. قل لو كان البحر مدادا لكلمات ربي لنفد البحر قبل أن تنفد كلمات ربي ولو جئنا بمثله مددا. Say, O Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم, to them, if the ocean works like an ink for the kalimat, words, if you wish, of my Lord, the ocean will be gone before the words of my Lord will be gone. Kalimat will involve or carry the meaning of mu'jizat, miracles, ayat, signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To talk about one sign, all the attributes of Allah is a beautiful example for that. Sifatullah. If you talk about one sifat, al-ilm, for example, the knowledge of Allah, try to perceive, try to understand how is it, ilmullah. If we think about it in this way, Allah knows, let's talk about earth. Allah knows all the grains of sand in the world. Allah knows how many ants are there, how many cells, how many atoms is there. And this is not just talking about one or two species and one or two of the creation of Allah. All of that just within the earth. He knows the weight of the earth, how many drops of water in the ocean. Allah knows all of that. And all of that is just earth. So you can imagine how vast is the knowledge of Allah. And then apply this to the hikmah, the wisdom of Allah, the mercy, all the features of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So for any thing, as Allah said in other ayah, if all the oceans, even being provided with other 7 oceans after them to work like an ink, and all the trees will work like pens, for the words of Allah and the miracles of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's never going to come to an end. We have to, مَا قَدَرُ اللَّهَ حَقَّ قَدْرِهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would say, in the day of judgment, you never give Allah the right esteem. So let's think how beautiful is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by reflecting on this ayah. The last ayah, قُلْ إِنَّمَا أَنَا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُكُمْ. Tell them, Ya Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, I am but a human being like you. This is God, this is how unlimited He is, but talking about myself, أَنَا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُكُمْ. Indeed, I'm but a human being like yourself. The difference is, I receive revelation from Allah. I get revelation. And the title of that revelation, أَنَّمَا إِلَهُكُمْ إِلَهٌ وَاحِدٌ. That your Lord is but one. Your God is but one. Not the numerical one, but one and unique, one and only. Subhanallah, this morning 2 ladies stopped by my house, they knocked the door, a very common, famous thing, we want to share the love of Jesus with you. Well, what do you want? They give me a book. Do you believe in life after death? I said, yes, I do believe in that. And then they asked a couple of questions. They showed me a verse in the Bible, and then the verse says that God will be on the throne, and He will be, that's after this kind of life, He will give people new bodies, and He will give them the eternal life, something to this extent. I told them I believe in that fully, but I need to ask you a question. God, in this ayah, what does it refer to? Was it Jesus? He said, no, this is Jehovah. Then I told them, what about Jesus? Was He created by God? He said, yes, He was created. This is the first time I hear it from a Christian person that he said Jesus was created by God. Then I said, well, think about this. Just go and think about it. You shared with me what you want, and I'm just sharing this with you. Think about it. God is on the throne. He created Jesus. And, so here is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's the same message that's even in this corrupt Bible. I didn't even look for it. He said, God is one. That your Lord is one. Nothing is like Him. فَمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو لِقَاءَ رَبِّهِ. Whoever hopes, expects, thinks, shooting for the meaning of your Lord, if that's what you really believe in, then you have to do فَلْيَعْمَلْ عَمَلًا صَالِحًا. You have to do good. وَلَا يُشْرِكْ بِعِبَادَةِ رَبِّهِ أَحَدًا. Not associating in the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala anybody or anything. And let me conclude by a couple of hadith about al-ikhlas. Not associating anybody in your ibadah. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam one day was talking about shirk, and then he said that the companion said, Ya Rasulullah, do you think that your followers will come back to shirk? They cannot understand. He said, I'm not afraid that you're going to go back and worship stones and moons and suns, but I'm worried about something like a shirk al-khafi, the hidden shirk. They said, what is the hidden shirk? He said, somebody stands up and praying, and he makes his salat beautiful just because someone else is looking at him. This is shirk. Or somebody fast, another hadith, different hadith, somebody fast, just to be said, showing off, showing off. Any particle of showing off in any action, even if it's hajj, as big as hajj, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not accept. أنا أغنى الشركاء عن الشرك. من عمل عملا أشرك معي فيه غيري تركته وشركه. If you do any action that has the least amount of shirk, and what is shirk in this case? It doesn't have to do much with the action, it has to do with the niyyah for the action, the intention. Action, salat is good, he prays like beautiful. But what's really meant by shirk al-khafif, for example, is the intention. We really need to work in our intentions. In another hadith, this is the last one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the day of judgment, when it's time for submission of actions, angels will, it's time, it's your turn, for example, it's my turn. This is the action of Amr. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, let's go with the hadith, he will say, take this, but put this aside. The angel will say, Allah, we see like a good action, this is a good deed. He said, no, you don't know, this was done, لغير وجهي, this was done not for my sake. Yes, it looks like good deed, but this was done not for my sake. Put it aside. Accept this. As far as the action, this was done for my sake. So let's do all the actions for the sake of Allah, purely. Like one of the scholars, every time they tell him something, like they tell him, let's go visit a sick person, a friend of ours is sick, he would just freeze up for a second. They say, what's wrong with you? He said, just putting up my intention. Make sure. Set up the intention, set it up right before you make salah, before you visit even a sick, before you do any action, so it will be done purely for Allah. And let's not take our intentions for granted. We are Muslims, let's not take our Islam for granted. Always let's double check. Why do we want to do that? Why would we do? So, inshallah, we will feel safe until we are in Jannah, all of us. Jazakumullah khair.